When I was a kid, my grandmother loved to watch TV legal dramas. What I remember most about those shows was how lawyers acted in trials, specifically what technical things they did to gain an advantage or nullify a threat. One of the things that both good lawyers and debaters understand is that asking questions is one of the most useful and powerful tools at your disposal when dealing with arguments and exposing weaknesses in your opponent's strategies. In this lesson, we'll be covering types of questions in debate and strategies for utilizing questions in rounds. At a fundamental level, questions clarify the debate for everyone involved, and at a more sophisticated level, questions advance the debate and are an integral part of a strategy you should be using in debate rounds. In debate and in legal communities, question asking is called cross-examination. This is because the role of questions is to further examine something. Because debaters like to sound cool, cross-examination is also called cross-X or CX. There are generally two types of CX. In one style of debate, you're able to ask questions during your opponent's speech. This is most commonly done in parliamentary or BP, British Parliament debate. Cross-examination in these formats are known as POIs, or points of information. Part of the power of CX in formats where you're asking questions during your opponent's speech is that you're intervening in your opponent's thinking along with their strategies. Done well, questions undo what your opponents have worked so hard to create. Direct refutation happens while your opponents are constructing their case, and these questions are actively reframing the debate. You get to insert ideas or thoughts into the debate, interrupting the logical flow of your opponents that they've created. It's pretty cool. In other styles of debate, instead of asking questions during your opponent's speech, there's a dedicated amount of time, usually a few minutes, specifically for question asking. This is done in public forum, policy, and Lincoln-Douglas debate. This is intense too because a skilled question asker has several minutes to bombard you with difficult questions. It's just as important to learn how to answer questions as it is to ask them. It's an important part of thinking about how a debate round is going to go and what questions you need to have in the debate to advance your arguments. When the teams are preparing for a debate round, I often coach them to prepare questions or what they should anticipate from their opponent's questions. The strategy for asking questions is even as specific as thinking who will be the one who asks the questions. More on that in the section on strategies. So, what are some strategies when asking questions? First things first. If you don't understand what's going on in the debate, it's likely you are losing. So if you find yourself confused, a good place to start is asking questions about the plan text or the specific advocacy that your opponents are defending. If it's a policy case, consider asking questions about how the plan text will accomplish the solvency story your opponents are constructing. Ask questions to better understand what mechanisms of the plan text are actually doing. Similarly, if you're debating a value, think about how your opponent's advocacy works as it relates to the criteria. Do their examples, their contentions, and their narrative make sense through the lens that the criteria established in the rounds? Hopefully the debate is clear enough that you can use questions more strategically, but sometimes you have to ask a question to have a foothold in the round. An awesome debate coach once taught me that one of the most powerful things about questions is that they can eliminate the possibility of an argument to work bidirectionally. Bidirectionally is the ability for an argument to do two or more things to harm you. Let's use a chess as an analogy. If your opponents have a powerful piece like the queen or the knight in the middle of the board, it's generally considered dangerous because these pieces can attack in any direction. In this situation, you would potentially be in a strategically disadvantageous situation. In the hands of a skilled chess player, the strategy is dangerous, but with practice, you learn to both defend against it and expose its weaknesses. The trick then is to see the trap coming, as much as possible avoiding the dangerous situations. In formats of debate competition, where you ask questions during your opponent's speech, questions function in their own unique way. Think about how important it is to slow your opponents down during their speech. Similarly, think about how useful it is to force your opponent to stop their discussion and start again. It's difficult to regain momentum, And many teams use questions to trip up their opponents, not by doing anything particularly strategic, but by simply recognizing that getting on a roll and developing momentum is a difficult thing to stop and start again. In an event like parliamentary debate or British Parliament, there's no preparation time between speeches where the next opposing speaker is expected to stand up and start speaking within seconds of the previous speech. It is an incredibly difficult task and requires that many strategic decisions are made early on in the preceding speech. Then, consider how useful questions would be to allow your partner to have a moment to think, focusing their attention, if only for a moment, on how they're going to construct an offensive strategy for your team. Also consider who should be asking questions. This is really only an issue in team debating, not one-on-one debating. There aren't any rules about who should ask questions per se, but some strategies are stronger compared to others. For example, the first negative speech is notoriously difficult in formats that do not have preparation time between speeches. Questions are useful because the second negative speaker can learn to engage in the debate and protect their partner by asking questions. The second negative speaker should be participating in the debate as much as possible to allow their partner to breathe, think, and make good choices. Refer to the video on communication apprehension and how the fight or flight response and stress influence your ability to critically think. Sometimes, all you need is a few seconds of quiet to think, and a better response becomes apparent. So, when you're answering questions, it's important to respond strategically, but also authentically and candidly. Transparency should be rewarded, and most importantly, it demonstrates that you believe in your strategy. Trust your preparation, trust your ability to think on your feet, trust your coaching, and most importantly, trust yourself. It's an awesome feeling knowing that you understand the case or an argument so well that you can withstand multiple rounds of CX. It's a strong indication that you're probably on the right track. In this discussion, we cover the types of questions in debate, and we discuss some ways to strategically use questions in the debate. So the next time you're in a round, consider how you're going to use this powerful tool to help you and your partner get ahead. Perhaps you might even copy some of the strategies that you see television lawyers use when questioning witnesses.